All right, so the series is called Healthy Families Do. We're going to talk about things, obviously, things that healthy families do. What makes a healthy family? We're going to kind of dig into that for the next 4 or 5 weeks together. Why are we doing the series? Because everybody agrees families matter. You don't believe it matters? Talk to a psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor, and they will ask you about your family growing up because it is so informative, so impactful from the moment you're born. The family has a huge, huge influence in you. Even those first weeks have a huge influence. The whole idea of, oh, our child's really little, this doesn't matter. Nope, it all matters. It all counts. Now, it doesn't all count equally, but it all counts. So I need to do a disclaimer. First of all, everything I'm going to say to you is stolen. Right? Doug, you plagiarized. Absolutely. Not word for word stolen. That way I don't have to document. But I'm only, I'm telling you things these are tried and true. These are not new things that you're going to hear today. And so I'm just going to kind of own that with you. Another thing I want to tell you, specifically today, we're going to be talking about marriage. What about if you're single or you don't have any kids? How is this all going to be relevant? Well, I think it's going to be relevant, first of all, let's say you never have kids and never get married. That would be oh, it's not relevant at all. It is relevant. It'll help you understand yourself, your family that you grew up in. It'll equip you for conversations that you may have with other people who seek your wisdom in the future. It'll make you a better rounded person, right? But for those of you who are single and someday you're going to get married, you need to put this in your mind and make it part of your foundation and make it part of your goal setting, specifically what we're talking about today. What kind of marriage do I want to have? What makes a good marriage? What makes a good family throughout the entire series? So today I've kind of already hinted at it, it's guard the marriage. Good families guard the marriage. It's the first thing they think about is guarding that. Because here's the truth. If mom and dad aren't doing well together, the family is not doing well. You can't have a healthy family with parents who are not doing well together. It doesn't work. Now, I got to pause for a second because this isn't 1820 or 1960. So the question will come up, do all families have moms and dads? Of course not. Some parents, and people die. And now you're single parents. Some people get divorced. Now you're single parenting. Some people choose to be single parents. That's the world that we live in. And if you're in that single world, I'm telling you, your family's all on you. And to me, that's even scarier, right? So you need to take care of, you're going to have to translate this, how do I take care of myself? Because as I go, so goes my family. It's kind of a leadership principle, the speed of the leader, the speed of the team, and it's the same thing in a family. The health of the marriage builds the foundation for the health of a family. The adults in the room, in your home, are the foundation. How are they doing? And they're responsible for how things are going as a family. So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to give you 6 principles. I think they're going to go by pretty quickly. You have a chance of getting out early if you think you know what early means. I never tell you what time we stop, so you don't really know what early means. Noon is early to me. So principles for a guarded marriage. How are we supposed to guard our marriage? And the first principle is this, priority and choice. What does that mean? It means you make your spouse your first choice, and you make your spouse, again, you translate to your world, your priority. This is what husbands and wives are supposed to do from the very beginning. Genesis 2:24, this explains why a man makes the decision to leave his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united in one. Up to that point, it's always been this young man, honor mom and dad, honor mom and dad. Mom and dad are everything. My family is everything. And now I'm leaving my parents. You still honor them. We'll get to that. You still honor them, but they're no longer your first choice or responsibility. Your spouse is. Right? And I think this goes both ways. This is not just men, but it's also women making their spouses the first choice. This is, some people will talk about leave and cleave. You leave your family, you cleave to your spouse. They're the center of your life. You hold on to them. You do everything you can. Now, as I look around this room, I know too much. Right? There's people who've gone through really, really hard things. And there are some marriages, my dad used to say that, not all marriages are made in heaven. Some are made in China. And I'm only quoting him. The ironic thing is, in the 60s, he used to say Japan, but then he changed it to China, whatever, right? But there are marriages that just, I'm sorry, I'm not here to point a finger at you if your marriage didn't work out. Nobody wants to get married and have their marriages not work out. So we start with a place of compassion. Unless you're jealous of them, and then you go, you got to be divorced, I have to stay. You know, that's a bad sign, right? But leave and cleave. Right? So there's a danger inherent in having a family, and that comes along a lot of times when we get married. And the danger is this, right? There's a third party that enters. If you have twins, it's even worse. If the third party enters into the relation, into the dynamics, we have the perfect. It's you and me, honey, till the end of time, forever and ever. Amen. We're together, and then this comes. And this changes everything. I need to volunteer, a married couple that's not too old. You might have children kind of thing. Middle-aged maybe at the most, all right? Come on, married couple, let's go. Okay, come on up. Nope, come on up. All right, so let's just pretend that these people love each other.
And we're young.
And that they're young, all right? And they're in love. And they're together and forever and ever, amen, we're going to stay together forever. And then one day they have a baby. And the baby comes in, and how do I make room in my heart for this baby that's right here? Just pretend there's a baby there, right? And I love the baby, and you love the baby. and then we have others, but right now just one, right? And we love, and we love, and we love, and what happens is, their love gets focused here, the development of the child, the family stages you go through, next stage, and they love each other. I mean, they love the baby, and they think they have a happy family, but someday, right, that child grows up because they keep changing and growing. And the danger is, while I love my kids and she loves my kids, the kids grow up and move out. When that baby goes away, right? The question is, what is this relationship exactly? What is this relationship going to look like? Because you feeling a little self-conscious about this? You go, okay?
No, he pulled me back.
Oh, he pulled you back. Good job. Leave and cleave. Leave and cleave means you can't get away. All right. Right? And so that's the danger. I love my kids. She loves the kids. The kids grow up and move out. And the question is, what does your relationship look like then? You guys go back. Oh, thank you. Really? They just stood there. Right? Because the question is, what happened to the relationship? It was becoming based on the children and through the children. If you don't think this happens, you're not paying attention to divorce rates. Because that spot, that empty nest spot, is the end of a lot of marriages. Because all of a sudden they go, well, we together were loving them, and they were our purpose. They were everything to us, and suddenly they're gone. And I used to love you. And forever still feels like a long time now. As we look at it's, what's it going to be like? I want to be this couple. When we dropped Molly off at our youngest, so empty nest, right? We dropped Molly off at Bethel for her first Bethel. We heard parents were so sad. They're dropping their last child off. They were crying. They were like, oh no, now their house is empty, and very quiet rides home. Lori and I turned up the music. We were dancing. We were playing. It's us again. And I think, yeah, oh, it's sad that Molly's gone, but she'll be back. We know that. So yes, while the coast is clear, let's reunite and defend ourselves against them. And the grandchildren that could come, you don't know. And so this is what it is. If you stop choosing each other, by the way, love your kids. We'll get to all that. Believe me, in the next 4 weeks, we'll hit all that stuff. But if you stop choosing each other in the midst of it, you mess up your future, and you mess your kids up too. Lori and I used to, we probably heard in a psych class or something that kids feel good when they see their parents hug and kiss, no matter how much they complain about it. Right? Ooh, gross. Get a room. All those kinds of things, right? I got a room. I got the whole house. Where are you going to live? Right? Right? But you have to choose each other. Of course, the kids need to be paid attention to. But kids are a permanent relationship but a temporary assignment. They are going to leave you someday. Maybe not with a diploma, maybe with a tool in their hands. They'll go do something. By the way, I almost didn't want to show you this picture because I don't like the presumption that kids go to college. Another topic. But the world needs people who just do their jobs really, really well. So not going down that road, except for that. All right. But they're going to leave. And you're going to be in that empty nest. And it's, are you going to think it's wonderful like I do? Because I love coming home. Now, ironically, and somebody's going to point it out, so I'll just say it out loud. Kids are boomerangs, So Molly came home and lived in our basement, paid off her student debt, it's all gone. And then she's ready to move out, ready to buy a house. She buys the house next door to us. But I will say this. Here's the advantage of it. No matter where she lived, I was going to have to go over and fix things. It's just a lot quicker just to go next door, and we put new locks on the building. It's fine, right? So choosing each other, because eventually all you're going to have is each other. Right? I mean, that's the plan. That's the dream. And barring all kinds of other things, that's what we're shooting for. So priority and choice. Even though you have children, make your spouse your priority. And I will tell you, there are more hurt feelings over this that never get said out loud. Because husbands cannot compete with kids for the mother's love. We can't. So you have to make a choice. So yeah, of course I love my kid, but this is, and I'll always love my kid, and I'll always pour into them, but this is my husband, and this is my wife. So this is only in your brains. I'm going to give you homework at the end, but just right now, and you want to kind of note it, here's the question I want you to think about. Do you feel like you're the priority? Do you think your spouse feels like they're the priority? This is in this room. Do not start talking now. Okay, so that's there. Principle number 2, serve each other. Make your spouse a priority. Serve each other. 2:18 again, the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him. Now, before anybody gets offended by this, I don't believe this is a subservient position, because the word helper kind of gives it that sound, right? I mean, that's right next to slave, right? Which Lori doesn't like that interpretation of the Bible. Helper, it's a pathetically weak word for what I think the Hebrew really is. Does it mean helper? Of course it means helper. We're all to be helpers to each other. But it's not like she's just a helper. No, neither spouse is just a helper. I think most of the pictures we see of Adam and Eve are weak, and like they're all pale-skinned and skinny, and it's kind of weird. I think these people had some muscle to them. I think she came and it's more like, I'm your helper, and not with a deep voice, but I'm your helper. I'm here for you. I'm tough. I'm rough. Why do I say that? It's because the Hebrew word for helper is also used to describe God. God is our helper. Exact same word in Hebrew. And it's used to describe warriors. Right? So, men, if you're married, look at your wife for a moment and just think to yourself, she's my warrior. Because she is. She's going to fight battles that you can't touch. She's going to fight battles you don't even know about. You got to submit yourself to that. And to being, yes, we're both that for each other. I don't believe this is a subservient position. I think it's equal, partnership, moving forward. And everything else in Scripture, to me, points that direction. The intent of God is not to give Adam a little helper. Although, when you're driving, guys, you might have a little helper. Take the left. And the problem for me is, if she doesn't say it, then I take the wrong turn. And it's embarrassing. So the intent of God is not to give just a little helper, but a strong partner. a strong partner. Bible says God saw it wasn't good for Adam to be alone, but also that he was going to make a perfect fit helper for him, someone who the weaknesses that Adam had, she could help compensate. This is a supportive, helping relationship. Now, I read about I'm going to tell it much faster than the story I read, but a guy went to bed and God said to him, I'm going to show you heaven and hell tonight. And he took him to hell first, and all these people were at a banquet tables with piles and piles of delicious, awesome food. And then he showed them heaven. And it was the exact same room. Delicious food, and all the people were in there. But in hell, nobody had elbows. So they couldn't get the food to their mouths. So they started throwing at each other and fighting. In heaven, nobody had elbows. But they started feeding each other. And he said, it's the same place. Now, please, this is not theologically accurate, and we're not going for that. What we're going for is one place had servanthood, but both places needed it. One place turned the room into heaven because of how they loved and cared for each other and served one another and fed each other. And the other room started fighting and bickering against each other. And it's kind of what are you going to choose to do? So that's principle number 2, serving. And the question is, how do you serve each other? By the way, I went through these with my wife. Big mistake. How do I serve you, Lord? And she goes, I don't know how you do it now, but you will in the future. We'll work it out. It'll be fine, right? How do you serve each other? Third principle is purpose. This thing, it's relationships, marriage, it should be bigger than self-gratifying relationships, right? Why did God bring us together? Well, Lori and I were dating, and this is hard for you to have perspective. So let me just set the stage just a little bit better. I was not interested in working in a church. I love God. But what I do for a living was never on the list. In fact, it was purposely pushed down the list. God has a sense of humor. And I wanted to honor God with my life, serve God with my life, but I had other plans for what I thought my career would look like. It actually involved Christian camping. It was what I thought I was going to go down that road. But when Lori and I started dating, we started having conversations. Somewhere along the line, very, very early, we talked about, what do you think life's about? What's your purpose in life? Because both of us came to a point in our life where we go, one thing I want, not just a Christian, I want someone who's going to help me follow God better. Someone who's going to say, if this is a God thing, we're stepping into it, whatever it is. That we're both going to be mutually, we're not going to add church to our happy domestic life. In fact, take church out of it. We're going to make God number one, and we're going to follow God together. We're going to help each other grow that. Are we perfect? Yeah. No. No. Of course not. We got really lucky to have those thoughts at that age. Because it wasn't just about how hot someone is, or how strong they, or how much money, or how good looking. There's none of that. I mean, trust me, that was still part of the formula, but they had to be good looking and follow God, right? I mean, we had to be, of course, those things are important. Attraction is important. So we ask the question, why did God bring us together? Every relationship needs to go, do we believe this? Do we believe God has us together, wants to keep us together, and that there's purpose in it? Because we need something bigger than just ourselves. Otherwise, we turn our relationships into hedonism. Well, why are you with that person? Well, they make me feel. They make me happy. They make me. That's not going to last. Because they won't always be able to make you happy. In fact, they can't make you happy. You can find happiness with them, but they aren't going to make you happy your whole life long. So in the Bible, God gave Adam and Eve purpose. He said, hey, you are here to be fruitful, right? It's one thing we did right. Lots of children, fill the earth with people, manage the earth. Stewardship is part of our responsibility. That's collective. Mankind, humanity is responsible for taking care of this world. Tend the garden was the responsibility. So they were supposed to have children, have families, and fill the earth. and manage the earth, and we still have those responsibilities. So how do we serve God and honor God by being together? I hope that's the question that you can ask, that you believe that God brought you together, and you're asking those questions, and you mutually submit your marriage to God and to his purposes. So that's what you have to ask each other, is maybe after the service, is that happening? Is that our perspective? Principle number 4 is companionship. Another word would be friendship. That, we're married, but we're not really friends. That happens a lot. We're committed till death do us part. Can't wait till someone dies, right? Because we're not that tight. Our friendship. So Genesis 2:18, then the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone. There is a friendship missing, a relationship missing. This wasn't sexual gratification. This wasn't how to just populate the world. This was aloneness is hard. And specifically, this doesn't mean, by the way, that being single is bad. In fact, there's some advantages to it. But he said, this is, generally speaking, it's not good for man to be alone. It's not good to be alone. Some couples lose their joy of being a couple. That's just the truth. Are you married? Yeah, we don't ask people that. We'll ask them, sometimes we'll ask them, like, are you happily married? Well, wait a minute. What's the standard? I'm married. Well, are you happily married? Well, I'm not leaving, and I sang the song, and I'm here forever. But are you happily married? Are you still friends? This is what the bottom line is to it. Are you just enduring time? Which brings up a whole other song in my head, but Meatloaf song, you guys remember that? Well, let's move on. Some couples lose that joy of being a couple. They stop being friends. They stop liking each other. It doesn't mean they get divorced. Friendships are expensive. They take constant feeding, continual feeding for the relationship to grow. Friendships require time, risk, vulnerability, transparency. You have to talk about more than what's for dinner. How'd your day go? For real friendships, well, how do you feel? How do you feel about that? You have to get to a level of relationships. We had a couple do a marriage, kind of a build-up marriage thing. I love what they shared, and I only share it with you because they shared it with most of us anyway at that conference, and that was that they will get to that feeling level, and the spouse will ask her husband, what are you feeling? And he says, I'll be right back. And he goes to the fridge where all the emotions are on the fridge. He reads down all the emotional words. He picks the one, is the right one. He comes back and he goes, I found it. Men aren't great at figuring out what they feel all the time. I always say that women, my wife's a painter. She knows about 1,000 colors. 1,000. I know 5. Right? And it's the same thing with emotions. Men aren't taught, we're just told not to feel. And so we never learn to identify our feelings. We're not great at it. And it takes work to start to learn how to put words for what you're feeling inside. When I used to drive my kid down, in the grocery cart, and Jeremy would see something on the side that he wanted at 3 years old, right? And I said, no, you can't have it. What happened? Meltdown. Nuclear meltdown right there in my shopping cart, crying and yelling and screaming. And I said, Jeremy, what? What you're feeling is called frustration because you're not getting what you want. I just want you to know how to name it. Well, it didn't help. But at least he had a word for it. Because men confuse frustration and anger all the time, sadness and madness. We have a hard time figuring those things out. Friendships require intentionality, lifting each other up, listening, expressing love and joy, right? And some of the men in the room right now are thinking, just a fishing pole, that's all it takes, right? Would you put me in a boat with another guy, we're friends. No, you're just fishermen. Somewhere along the line, it may not be in the boat. If you want a deeper friendship, it's you've got to go to a place, and I know it's awkward, I know it's hard, and by the way, I'm not always in the mood to have those conversations, but you got to get there. You got to get to a point where you go up to somebody and you go, you know what, I just really appreciate you. I'm proud of you. This is every relationship. And I always feel awkward doing it. I mean, to Lori, I don't feel awkward saying those things. To people in church, there's some of you, I've come up and I just say, hey, I'm watching a little bit from the outside. I just want you to know, way to go. Right? And I feel stupid doing it. Why is that? Why do we feel dumb building each other up? Why do we feel dumb supporting each other and lifting each other up? And even in our marriages, we come to a point where we just find our neutral corners and go, well, I'm not going to say that out loud. Because the last thing I want him to do is feel good. You know, I think of all the things he's not doing. And we have to kind of break the pattern if we're going to build the friendships. Friendships require continued sacrifice. By the way, when you were dating, think back for a moment. You sacrificed everything. Your money, your time, what you thought about before you went to bed, what you thought about when you woke up in the morning, when you were dating and going through this process. Your whole life became centered, and a lot of things some of us sacrificed our grades, for the relationship, but it's continuing to sacrifice and to put them first. And it's hard when you've got kids, because kids do need a lot of attention. And they need to feel loved and know that they matter. But they get their security from your relationship. Right now, I'm having a little bit of a melt. I'm getting older, so this is going to happen. Did I say something about kids getting security from mom and dad hugging and kissing? Did I tell you that we used to do that on purpose in front of them? And I would turn to them and I would say, do you feel better now? Right? Hug, kiss mom, right in front of them, get a room. Oh, no, I'm trying to help you feel better. Because we love each other. You ain't going to break us up. No matter how, and sometimes it feels like the kids are trying. Companionship is the path to true intimacy. Most people think sexuality is. It's not, it's companionship. Always. Companionship is not smothering, by the way. Where you can't go, you can't leave me, you can't be out there in the world, you can't go talk to that person or that person or that person. I mean, don't do high-risk conversations or activities. But good companionship should be a launching pad for security for people to have other relationships and friendships as well. Because they know that it's safe at home. Because they know that we're committed at home. Because my best friend lives in my house and sleeps in my bed. And it's not a dog. It's companionship. So, are you protecting your joy in being a couple? Are you investing? By the way, those of you who are divorced, this is not a beat-up time. That's not my point at all. I'm more worried about future than I am right now in the past. Principle 5, the principle of one flesh. Right? So, Genesis 2:24, this explains why a man leaves his father to cleave to and his mother, is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. That's the NLT version that we normally use at church. It's a good version. I like NIV better for this particular verse. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Why do I like that better? Because it sounds like it means what it's supposed to mean. It sounds like they're talking about sex, because it is. But it's talking about more than that. It's talking about oneness, togetherness, because that's what sex was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be a handshake or a third date. It was meant to be one flesh, united together. Our lives are bonded. Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment and just say not a lot more. And some of you are going to go, Doug, you're chickening out. Right? And I am not chickening out. I'm so comfortable talking about this stuff. Right? Not only am I comfortable talking about it, but in the right context with my wife, I'm comfortable in the activity. We have a lot of fun. We're married. I'm 65. Still works. Well, some of you are worried. Not about me. You're worried about yourselves, and I get it, right? And I go up to older people and I go, how's it going? Right? I don't do that, right? But here's the thing, we don't have enough time, and this isn't the place I want to do this conversation and fill it out. It's a very important conversation. And I think we're grossly misinformed, and we need to talk about those things out loud. So this is important. The target is not just physical, it's emotional and physical. Right? Now, sometimes you're very physically close and not so emotionally close, and the physical helps the emotions. And sometimes you're very emotionally close, and the physical comes with it. because it's supposed to. They're supposed to be together. And sometimes you have to take a leap into one side of it and build towards the other side of it. But it's okay. So the principle is one flesh, one united marriage front with all the joys and benefits of that. That's what I want for you. That's what God wants for you. That's part of what family, this is guarding your marriage. And I think the question I want you to ask each other is, what would make our intimacy even better? And then listen to each other. By the way, if you can't ask that question, if you cannot talk about that topic, then I think you need a counselor. That's a topic you should be able to talk about, and counselors can help you get there. Principle number 6, our last principle for this morning. It doesn't mean the last principle that exists. I'm sure somebody has a 7th principle. But your marriage should be a place of acceptance and safety. What's the verse? Well, again, Genesis 2:25. Adam and Eve and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. They were naked together. By the way, you never feel shame about being naked all by yourself, I hope. Right? But the idea is they were naked together. Nobody was getting shamed. Nobody was getting, looks like you gained a little bit of weight there, honey. No, I mean, it's nothing like that. Right? And by the way, naked doesn't just mean clothing. It means they were transparent. They were who they were, and they felt no shame. This is what you want in your marriage. That I don't have to keep secrets. I don't have to be guarded. I'm not going to get hurt. My wife loves me, and I can be naked and unashamed with her in every way. I mean, do we have the perfect marriage? I think so. And if I'm deluded, that's a good delusion. I can't imagine anything better. Is it easy all the time? No. She wants me to do stuff. Get off the couch. Put the dishes away. Mow the lawn. She has stuff on. She's got a list. She's a list person. I love her for that, because if we didn't have her list for the house would be a disaster. My house is awesome because she, my helpmate, my warrior, makes sure it is nice. And sometimes she needs help doing some of the things that are on, not because she's a woman, but because she's Lori, on her side of the ledger more than my side. And because, by the way, stage of life. Right? So if I ever retire, she's going to have a different list. Which she's supposed to, because it's a different stage of life, and we'll divide up the world differently and conquer it together. But they're together. So this isn't about clothing. This is about being you. Together, protected, unashamed, guarded. It's about being seen and heard and being safe. It's about being able to say what you really feel and think without getting hurt by it. Now, there's times where people get hurt by it. So I don't know if Laura's going to like this next part. All right. So I have about a 15-pound weight up and down kind of thing going in my life. When I'm low in my weight, I feel better, all those good things, right? When I get 15 over, how do I feel? Lousy, fat, self-esteem. So I'm going to tell you how strong my marriage is. My wife is allowed to say, "Hey, fat man, you going to work out tonight?" And before you judge that, you need to know that I feel completely safe when she says that, right? As long as it's singular, like not fat men, just me. I'm the only fat man she gets to talk about it with. We have a relationship that's secure enough. By the way, we didn't start there. That was not a first date thing. I really had a good time tonight, but listen, fat boy date, this isn't going to work. So, I mean, this sounds weird. We're real people. Life is messy. And if I was hurt, I would tell her. By the way, men, don't go try it out. Don't go, "How safe do you feel, honey?" And then let's see if we can do the Mathers. Don't do it. By the way, I never turn the table on that one. I'm not stupid. So what's safety? it's having a marriage with no secrets. But I'm gonna say something, this is sound very judgmental, but too bad. If your spouse doesn't have your passwords to everything, except for government secrets that you're allowed to keep, why? If you feel threatened when he or she picks up your phone, why? Because there's a reason. If there's secrets, it's unhealthy. My wife knows where I am on her phone. She can track me. She didn't even have to put a chip in me or anything. I have a phone. She knows exactly where I am. She almost always knows what I'm doing and probably never cares. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not doing that, why? Because that scares me. It's great to talk to a lot of people instead of just two people, because then I can just blast stuff like that, and you go, okay, well, he's not talking to me. I am talking to you, right? So no secrets. It's about listening. The hardest thing for me to do is listen without creating my counterpoints. Just to have her be understood. For one thing, I like stories told much faster. Right? Hurry up, get to the point. What do you want? That's not healthy for my marriage, but I do it, right? And I'm trying to learn not to do that. Acceptance. If you don't know their acceptance, they're not going to tell you the whole truth. So principle number 6 is acceptance. You work towards deeper intimacy where people are safe and accepted. Those things, and I know we didn't talk about kids, those things filter into your family and reveal themselves in your kids. And they feel safe and secure. So, conversation for spouses, what makes you feel safe? When do you feel heard and seen by me? And this might be a hard conversation to have. So, if mom and dad aren't doing well, this is the big point. I'm telling you the family's not doing well. I don't care what your kids are doing in sports. I don't care what they're doing at school. I don't care how many friends they have. If your family is not doing well, if you're not creating that safe, happy place in your family, in your marriage specifically, you're risking it all. You start there. This is not to be judgmental. I want to be motivating today. My hope for you is you realize it can be better, no matter how good it is, it can be better than it is, right? Because we want to guard our marriages. So I'm going to give you some homework. By the way, get your phones out if you want to engage in this. Get your phones out. I'll tell you when to take a picture. Here's the homework. I'm going to make some statements, just a few of them, and you're going to score them on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 means not at all. 10 means it's awesome and it's great. It happens all the time. I want you to talk in your conversations later, those of you who do this, about what's the trajectory. We're a 6. Being a 6 doesn't tell you much. Did we used to be a 4? Did we used to be an 8? What's the trajectory of this number that we're looking at? And then talk about all of them, right? But maybe not all in one night, the things I'm going to put up here are the statements. And then anything that you score a 7 or less on, give special attention to, right? So they're all based on the principle. So take a picture. Well, do you get a picture of that slide? Get a picture of that slide if you want one. And the next one is the first 3 principles. I feel like I am your priority. Give it a number score. I feel you serve and protect me. Give it a number score. I feel a bond in purpose with you. Give that a number score. I'm about to change slides. 1, 2, 3, go. Principle number 4, companionship. I feel like we are best friends. How true is that? I feel one with you at all the levels for the one flesh. And acceptance. I feel I can be completely transparent with you. Completely is a very big word. Be slow to give yourself a 10. Because it's an all word. Okay, so you got it? If you want it, let's pray. God, my opinion, you done good, God, when you created Eve. You done real good. And marriage, that we get to be husbands and wives and build each other up and love each other. It's the picture you have of what you want with Christians, your followers, your children, and you. You want that intimacy, our dependency on you. You've used marriage as an illustration of that. So God, for those of us who are married, help us dig deeper, find all the joy, create all the stability, not just for our families, but because it's what we were made for. For those of us who are single, God, help us to tuck it in the back pocket and raise our standards and have a vision for what marriage can be and family can be. And then, God, as we go through this series, my prayer is that we don't just hear stuff, but that we learn and grow and create healthier families. In Jesus' name, amen.